Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 192. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're excited to have with us the internationally acclaimed and celebrated comic creator and founder of ASAP Imagination, Paul Hayden.
How's it going? Hi. Thanks for having me on, man.
AKA Haydes.
Yes, yeah. It's a nickname that's stuck, so I've just accepted it's there now.
You have a really good origin story, and as you say, you kind of cut your teeth on comics, so obviously origin stories are important when it comes to all that stuff. And Hayden, just give us a little bit of background on how you kind of got created with ASAP Imagination.
I started it because I've been a lifelong comic book fan, a huge geek for 36, 7 years now, a good while. And I've always wanted to do something, and I'd been working with an artist to do I think we were going to do a comic, and this was in 2018 was when I first met him, and I got the idea for this comic. And then when life changed in 2020, and it changed for the whole world, obviously a lot of us were locked in. I had lost my job, and I decided I've got this time that I'm stuck at home and I can't go and look for job interviews because I can't go anywhere, I can't do anything. So I just thought, get useful with the time you've got, and decided to start it, and I did. And then it became it just went crazy. It was so surreal how it all came about. And I did it through a government program over here where they give you a small amount to help you start a business. And by small, it covered my website fees and a couple of artist fees, but it was enough to get the ball rolling. It was enough to start. So I just thought, let's give it a go. And then during that time, I had made friends with a great writer who's now just become just the best friend in the world. LA Cunningham again. You'll see her, I think, on the 18th. And I had said to her, "Do you want to? I've got this idea for this whole world I want to build. You want to write a book with me?" She called me crazy because I think she just had a baby. You know, she's like, "I've got no time," and I was like, "It'll be fine. Let's do it. It'll be great." And she's like, "Oh, okay." So we wrote an anthology called Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue, and it's 2 books, and it's the catalyst for the world of our main continuity. So it's 16 stories that happen. Excuse me, in this, what we refer to as the event, which takes place in London, and there it is, and it's a double feature because on the print version, half of the book is actually printed upside down. There's no back cover. There's 2 front covers, so you flip the book, and you've got the other version, and yeah, so we did that, and we had a kind of like moving timeline. And then finally I decided, I remember sending the message, and I remember the caps lock response I got from her was where I just went, "So I've just done a thing." And what I did was I tweeted out, "The book will be ready by November." And there was lots of caps lock, and she was like, "What the hell? What?" And I was like, "You're welcome." And we did it, actually. It was the last 2 or 3 days of November, so it was by the skin of our teeth, but we got it out, and we were like, done. And it was a great sense of joy, and it was just really great. And at the same time that the book had come out, the comic, issue 1 of Messiah had been completed. So we did we launched with like a double feature. So the event and Messiah, and again, they're interconnected. It's the same world. And yeah, it was I just wanted, from that point, I knew I wanted to build a much bigger, broader kind of thing with these ideas and these titles and this world. And I love world building and all that kind of stuff. So been very fortunate to be able to have done that. And obviously, we started. So we went live. So not only actually are we kind of taking all of your podcasts for the month, and thank you very much, that's very kind of you, but it is our actual anniversary this month as well. So it's August, so it's 2 years for us, so August is very special.
Right. Yeah, that's right, because I did watch your 1 year birthday YouTube video where you had, so within 1 year you basically had an entire team of people that are part of ASAP Imagination. Talk to us a bit about that. How did that start? Where it was just first it was you and Laurie, correct?
Yes, yeah. It was me. It was me and Kyle on Messiah, and then it was me and Laurie on the book with Sarah, who had edited the book, and then Nem, who David Howard had done some assists on some of the visuals and done some videos and such. And then I just started to say to people, because they're Nem's a very talented writer, and obviously I knew Laurie was, so it was like, right, let's do some more stuff, let's see what else we can do. So we started to plan, and we started to put some things together, and then next thing, obviously we got more artists on board and more people who were interested in doing stuff for the main world. And then during that first year, during that time, people had expressed an interest in bringing their work to us as well. And I'm a big believer of, if you've created a world, so if you've created this book or this graphic novel, whatever, I don't want to take away your rights, that they belong to you. That's your thing. So that's why within the first year I created the second and third platforms as well. And then it just kind of went boom, and we had all of these things happen, and it was really special.
So talk to us a bit about those platforms you mentioned.
So yes, we've got our main platform, which is the main continuity, which is all our one world stuff. So that's Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue, Messiah, OPSEC, Whole, Dead of Night, Sister Grimm, and then we have another title coming as well. And so that's our one platform, and then the platform for other creators, which is called the Any One World, is a platform where we publish, distribute, promote for other creators. So we've got Lance Lucero with Bob Non-Union Psychic, Big Book of Bob Volume 1, Malcolm Wong with Dog Eaters, Shane Tideman with Tidal Wave Presents Origins, Eddie with Birth of Golden Arm, Simra with Meat Machine, and then we've got a bunch of others who are going to be coming out. And we, through that platform, we publish, as I say, distribute, so on and so forth. We do prose as well as comics. And what we did, which was, again, it was very special. When we launched the platform, we launched it with an anthology called Perspectives. Now, the reason that is twofold is the reasons why that's special. One, because we did it for charity, and everyone who was involved did it for free. Everyone gave up their time for free. Every penny raised has gone to charity, and we did it for a charity called Dyspraxia Foundation, which is a condition my son has. So it's quite near and dear to me. So, we pushed and promoted that, and we were able to raise a good amount, and we're still raising. Whenever we have sales, the money is for them. So we do what we can for that, and it's 16 writers within there. And what I loved, the other reason why it was special was obviously because of these wonderful people, but for 8 of them, it was their first ever time published.
Wow.
And it was such a joy to have that and see that moment and see these people we sent copies of the books to them. as a a thank you, and just to see them holding the book and doing it. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing, and it was all for a good cause. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And part of that, as you mentioned, that you've gotten some other writers and artists who might not have been published before. Is that part of the mission of ASAP Imagination, is to find first-time writers and help them get their works published?
Yeah, I mean, it's if we can help, we definitely will. It's one of those things where it's like, because again, some of these people that I'd met had it had been their first time, and for me, it's I know it sounds dumb. I get more excited than them when they get published. I was getting more excited when they were getting published rather than when something with my name was coming out.
Right.
So it was a surreal thing. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was excited to see stuff with mine as well, but for them, it's such a great thing. So it's like with the comics as well, like Meat Machine for Simmer, it's his first ever published comic. It's his debut comic. And with Eddie, it's his debut comic. Lance and Malcolm, are very. They've been doing this a while. They're seasoned. They know what they want. They know how they want to get it. And they're great people. And for me, it was such an honor to have people who had been in the game for a while to put faith in me, and for people to take their first step to put faith in what we were doing.
Right.
So yeah, it was great. And again, it's like we've got people that we're talking with at the minute, and some of the people that we're talking with, it's their first time as well. So yeah.
So talk to us a bit about, you mentioned the world you created, which is separate of the NE1 line, correct?
Yes.
So what's your main? So give us a bit of an origin story of the main continuity, and how did you come up with that?
For the main continuity, I had this thing where obviously, so I think it was down to my tastes changing. I think as a fan. So of course, when I was a kid, I loved everything that was light and bright and colourful and costumes and hands on hips and cloaks flowing. And then as I got older, your taste matures, and I then found myself reading darker stories like the Hellboys, and I started reading The Authority over at Wildstorm, and so on and so forth. And I really loved the mix between the two. And what I wanted was to have this thing of all these kind of anti-heroes, and what would it be if there was a reluctant hero, and that's where Messiah comes in. So I set it in the UK because I again, it's like the backdrop of London is a big backdrop anyway, and it's, rather than setting it in America, it's like, well, this is where I am, this is what I know, So we started it with Messiah because I like the idea of a really flawed character, and because the character's name isn't Messiah, the character's name is actually Daniel, and Daniel has an ability, he has a power where he can remove the wounds that you have, but he can't heal himself. So it's that moment of, I can't save you, I'm sorry, because if I take it, I'm dead.
Right.
So I like the idea of this guy who's like really reluctant. He doesn't want to be a hero. He doesn't want to, deep down, he's a nice guy, but it's like, and he never asked for the power as well. You see, it was kind of thrust upon him. So I love the idea of this really reluctant guy, And then with some of the others, so for Sister Grimm and OPSEC. So Sister Grimm was created by Laurie Cunningham, and OPSEC was by David Howard. But Sister Grimm happened by accident. So when Laurie and I were writing Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue, she had written one story, and obviously I'll let her go into much more detail on it when she speaks with you. But there was something about the story that just kind of, I don't know. She's a wonderful, fantastic writer, but there was something about it that really hit me. And when you read something or see something, and you go, that's a main character. That's the leading character.
Right.
And I had read this story that she'd written for the book, and it's a wonderful story. And I said to her, I was like, there's something about his character that I love, and we put our heads together. We batted around this idea, and Sister Grimm came off the back of it, and that is Laurie's debut comic, because before this she wasn't a comic book fan. I have lovingly corrupted her, and I am very proud of it as well. But yeah, so that is her debut comic, and it actually came out last month. It came out at the end of July. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so it was great. So the other thing that we're trying to do at the moment, and we're, touch wood, so far succeeding, is we wanted to bring out one a month of our own stuff. Okay. So OPSEC came out in May, Dead of Night came out in June, Sister Grimm came out in July, Hole is coming out this month, and then we are doing some of the number 2s after that, and we've got some other little surprises coming.
No, so it's basically just the five comic series, right, for the main continuity?
Yeah, so we've got the 5, soon to be 6, because we've got another one coming, which we haven't announced yet, but we will be announcing. Okay. And then we've got Points of Villainy Virtue. But yeah, so when we do our con, we've got some announcements to make with the growth of this. But at the moment, yes, it's 5 as of today.
As a comic creator, what do you do to make sure that you keep your inspiration and keeping it as a passion and not letting it turn into a job, basically?
There are certainly days that it is a job. I will say that there are certainly days that it is a job, because obviously, for me, I have to do the paperwork side. I have to do everything behind the scenes. I have to cross the T's and dot the I's and so on and so forth. So when it comes to creating, and one of the things I love doing is bouncing ideas around. It's I'll bounce ideas around with Laurie, with Nem, with Chess, who I'm working on Hole with Matteo, who's the artist on OPSEC, and we'll literally just throw ideas up in the air and throw them around and just enjoy it. So I think it's good people, if I'm honest, because we're able to do that. And like I say, when we do have to do the paperwork side of things, it's to drag, but it needs doing, because everything we do is above board. Everything we so we sit there and we make sure all the contracts look fine, we make sure all the paperwork is correct. So that is the bit that makes me go, oh, another spreadsheet. Yes, this is a job. But but then I get to have fun with the creation. I get to play around, so at the moment I'm still running the social media. I get to learn stuff all the time. If you'd have asked me 6 months ago, hey, you want to do a cool video for social media, I'd have gone, no, because I don't know how to do that. But now I'm like, yeah, let's go, but I'm still learning, and it's fun because I still get to learn. And it's like I'm 42 this year, and it's like never in my wildest dreams, would I imagine at any given point I'd go, just signed up to TikTok or all that kind of stuff. But we have one, and we get to make fun videos and enjoy stuff. And more recently, over the last few months, both Laurie and I have actually cosplayed as our own characters. It's one of those things where it's like, I can't complain if this is my job. Right. So, but yeah, and like I say, we're going to be announcing some more growth on that. But at the moment, every Hole is out this month, but everything else is out already.
And do you have, so talk to us a bit about so now you said almost probably 6 titles that reoccur. So if you're doing them once, so basically maybe 2 issues a year come out for each title, basically then?
So we're hoping to do 4 a year for each title.
Wow.
So every 3 months, with a new one, and that is the aim. So by over the course of a year, just basically like 1 a quarter. So once a quarter for Messiah and OPSEC, etc. Right. And then what we want to do is after they come out and we've got the 4, then what we'll do is we'll bring out the graphic novel version as well.
So if you're having 6 titles and you want them to come out once a quarter, you're basically producing 2 comics a month then.
Yeah, so at the moment we're just staggering them, so we're giving people one a month, and then once we get kind of hit the flow of everything's out now, let's go. Then it's probably going to grind down a little bit. But again, it's what we're trying to do is pace it as best we can.
Right. And I'm really curious about this as well, as when you have a shared world where you have the main continuity. Would readers find, for instance, like characters from each comic? Is there any crossovers that happen?
Yes, we have crossovers planned. Yeah, we've already hinted at some bits and bobs, and we definitely have plans to, because especially when we're bouncing ideas around, because all of a sudden you'll just turn around and there'll be a character in, say, like OPSEC, and you'll go, could you imagine if this character met this one? Let's make it happen. Like, so then we'll just plan it out, and we try our best to plan them so each of the titles will have their 4-story arc that will cover their year.
Okay.
And what we want is it to be a self-contained story, but we're dropping in bits within there to say bigger picture. And at the moment, we are in talks with. So I'm talking with a director over some live action stuff, and I'm talking with the hope of doing something animated as well. So we'll see. That could be about a year off or so, but I'm already pushing to try and start that ball rolling.
Right. So you started working on your main continuity, and who was the first writer that started that reached out to you, or creator that reached out to you, that gave you the impetus to start the NE1?
It was Lance, actually, Lance Lucaro. We had spoken a few times. We knew each other through a podcast called Comic Crusaders. I had done some review work, and I'd done some interviews for them, and I'd met Lance through them, and absolutely wonderful guy. He's got a film company, and he's great creative head, but also really great business head on his shoulders. And we had spoken, and he'd got Bob, non-union psychic, and he said to me that he wanted to see Bob as a graphic novel. And so I said that would definitely be awesome. So we had spoken, we'd gone through it, and I said I think we can. So we ironed out the details. He sent me over the artwork, and we got it where it's so you can get the digital copy or version. You get a hard cover, a kind of really nice kind of prestige cover, and then you can get the paperback version. And we also handle all the merch as well.
And so the Bob non-union psychic was the impetus of the NE1.
Yeah. He had then introduced me to Malcolm Wong with Dog Eaters, but I decided to launch the NE1 world with Perspectives. So we had a big group working together, but then and then obviously Malcolm Hill, I think, and so actually as of today I literally put up so we have the graphic novel version, but today I put up the singles download, so you can get all the singles as digital downloads as of today. But and then I just started to talk to people, and then I met Eddie, and then I had spoken with Shane Tideman, and then Simra, and then some of the people who worked with us on Perspectives as well. So we got Paul Nolan, Christian Prospery, Mitch Larkin, and all these people, again, just like great people. And, they had faith in what I was doing, and I was highly honored by it all. And I just thought, all right, let's do it, And then what I did was, because my son, so I have 2 daughters and a son. My daughters are both adults now, officially. It makes me feel so old. But my son is 8, and he really was like, when we could, because I'm a single dad, so when he'd come and spend time here, he'd really love what Dad does, my dad does comics, and of course I couldn't show him this because obviously there was violence and so on and so on and so on. So that's when I decided, in kind of honor of my son, is to launch ASAP Minis. So round about the same time that we launched Any One World, I decided to launch Minis at the same time.
Okay.
And that's our kids book and kids comic platform.
Right.
So we started it off with D'Artagnan and the Muscatinis. There you go, which you can see right there. And then there you go. And that is actually about me and the kids. So that is actually me. And it's just literally, this story of us, kind of together. And my kids are great, they're wonderful. So we did that, and then we're just about to release Bernard, the Butter Bear. It's so weird talking about like comics and going Messiah, Obsec, and then I go Bernard the Butter Bear. But yeah, it's but that's on it's asapminis.com, so it does have its own site as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so I made sure to get the 3 sites because what I wanted to do was keep it separate. So when even though it's in the main thing there, what I do is I link everything. So if when I link from minis, then it links directly to just the kids' books there. But yeah, so I wrote that, and it was about me and the kids. And then as I say, I wrote Bernard. And then we have a comic coming out. There's been the picture's not on there. It'll be on the ASAP Mini site. But we have a book coming out called Alpheus is Brave and Brilliant, and it's about a superhero with dyspraxia. So it's about my son. So we have that coming out, and then we're doing some books for other people because we do the kids' books on that platform for other people as well. So it's not just for me making books on that platform. We actually accept submissions there as well. So again, that's why I'm so busy.
So I'm curious as well, because you worked on long story format. You've done comics, and now you do children's books. How would you describe the difference between the creative process between those 3 mediums?
I would say that when I was writing for Points of Villainy, Points of Virtue, that was my most immersive. So I'm a big fan of music when I write. So I would be earphones in, and I have a playlist of like movie soundtracks. So no words, no lyrics, because otherwise I'll end up typing what I'm listening to. But I will then just switch off. I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to do it. I want to get into this. When it comes to writing a script, I found that to a level immersive, but then also because it was I always had to remember layouts. So you're kind of like twofold, because it's like you're telling the story, but then you're also trying to, it's kind of like almost mathematical, because you're like trying to lay out your pages as you go in. So with that one, I definitely was able to bounce back and forth. I was able to jump out of it and jump back in. And then with the kids' books, I think that was the one that came the easiest to me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because because I based, the books around the kids anyway, they bring me a lot of joy, and it was just so easy to talk about how great they are. And then actually, there's a funny story behind Bernard there. So some years ago, I wrote a book of poetry, and called, get ready for this title, called My Little Book of Big Bugbears, Nursery Rhymes of Grumpy Grown-Ups. It's no longer about, I don't think. And I wrote it, and I used my Irish limerick side on it quite a lot, because it was just all rhyming poetry.
Okay.
And my daughter Amber was, she was tiny at the time, but she asked me what a bugbear was. And I was explaining that it's when something annoys you. And then she's like, so it's not a bear and a bug. And I was like, oh, no, but adorable. So what I did off the back of that was at the end of the book, but at the end of this book of rants, and they were silly rants, but I put in a poem just about Bernard the Butter Bear, just for her, really.
Uh-huh.
And now there's a whole book, and she's now 18 years old, and it came into print, and she's like, I need one. I need a copy. And I was like, you're 18. She said, I don't care. I want one. It's like, fair enough. Okay. So yeah, and I think that was the easiest to do because it was just based around the kids, and
Right.
like I say, they're wicked.
What advice would you give to an author or writer to say, how do you find an illustrator for either a comic script or a children's book script?
I mean, obviously, social media it's a strange, wonderful place. Like I have such mixed bag on social media because sometimes it's all too consuming, especially when you run your business through it. But also, I've met such amazing people through there,
Mm.
and it's like once you realise that there are communities of people that are in the same boat or are looking for the same thing, who
Right.
then you like Matteo, for example, who was OPSEC. I found his work on Facebook, and I was literally scrolling through artists, and then I saw his style, and it just reminded me of the Mike Mignola kind of Hellboy look in the way that he'd saturated the colours and such.
Right.
And I just literally just reached out to him. We had a conversation. We had a back and forth. So it's just that have a look around. Look for the active groups that are on there. There are places where you can go that are like Fiverr and stuff like that, where you can, they're actively putting themselves out. But I have found Facebook and Twitter and Instagram just great places to meet people. I've been very fortunate. So yeah, and also look for, I know it sounds really daft, but like hashtags. So you hashtag something that's relevant to someone else and it pops up on their page. They like your stuff, and the next thing you're conversing.
Talk to us a bit about Any1Con.
Sure. So I had decided, because we were coming to 2 years, so it's 2 years on the 26th of August, and it's because of great people, that we've grown in such a way that we have. Like, it's been crazy the last 2 years. And because of great people, it was like, well, I think we need to celebrate. This is 2 years, So what I decided to do was, we're going to do like an online con. We've got a couple of announcements because we're doing obviously some more titles. We've got our next charity title coming as well, which we'll be announcing at the con. We have said to people, hey, do some fan art, and we'll put it out at the con. Again, say to people, download your friends of faux masks, and we're going to do giveaways. So it's like, for the best friend of faux picture, you can get a digital copy of whatever. And I was like, why don't we celebrate? Why don't we just have some fun?
Right.
And basically everyone just went, yeah. So I was like, let's do it. So yeah, on the 25th and the 26th, again, online, we're going to be dotting between Instagram and Twitch, and maybe spaces on Twitter, and maybe like onto YouTube, doing some live podcasts, and just interacting with people and having some fun. And again, if you are able to come on and have a look, we will be announcing for our charity one, and it's something very different. And I'm looking, it's one of those things where I don't want to like spoil it either, but I'm now at that point where I'm like, really want to tell people, because it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. And so August 25th and 26th is when it's going to be live. Now, if somebody can't watch it live, is there a live stream? Are there going to be videos that are going to be on your YouTube?
Sure. Yeah. So we are going to have stuff where it's going to be either on a YouTube channel, or once we go live on an Instagram video, then we'll just save it to the feed, and you can pick it up later. And plus,
Right.
we'll re-advertise it a few days after, just to say in case you missed it.
Right.
But yeah, we want people to enjoy it and have some fun. And again, like I say, there's so many great people. Like, I can't speak highly enough of them. It's like,
Right.
but I've been very lucky to meet them, and in people like Laurie Cunningham's case, corrupt her into the world of comics. I'm sure she cusses me sometimes, because now she's like, basically what happened was because she's such a fantastic person with editing and attention to detail and so on and so forth.
Right.
She was the obvious choice for me to be editor in chief.
Right.
So I think we were about maybe a year in, and I was like, I think you should do that. And then she was like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to announce that. So sometimes I think sometimes one of the reasons why I think we've had so much fun is because sometimes we just do. So there are times where we talk about doing stuff, and there are times where we just do it.
Right.
And that's been the fun. Because sometimes, like I say, I've been cussed out. I've been, no, too late. And my mischievous side comes out there.
So if there's writers and authors and artists that are interested in trying to be a part of ASAP Imagination,
Yes.
what would be the best way that they could reach out to you?
So if it's for comics and kind of adult type books, then if you go to anyoneworld.com, and you can see the submissions form on there. The same for ASAP Minis. We've got a submissions form in there, and it just comes straight to our email. But even if you just wanted to ask some questions, then it's nice and simple, where you could just, if you wanted to just reach out, give us a follow on social media, give us a shout. Happy to talk and help, and all that kind of stuff. But there you go. We try to cover as many bases as we can. Like I say, it was so surreal because I did not start with this in mind.
Right.
When it was to start with, it was just me wanting to make a comic.
Right.
I just wanted to be a comic creator. It was just the way I saw it was I was an guy who was an geek, and that was it. And now, all of this, and 2 years as well. It's like, I remember some of my friends kind of, people use it all the time in real life. Some of my friends going, "You're going to do what?" "I'm going to start a comic company." "Is serious?" "Yeah." But again, going back to, I know it's kind of like roundabout, but with the government money that I was being given, one of the things that was quite wonderful was, so you have to prove that you're doing what you say you're doing, basically.
Right.
And the way I proved it was to give them my analytics, my website analytics. But what it showed was obviously global footfall and sales. So I had this really random phone call from the work coach, really wonderful guy called Neil. And he actually started the conversation with, "Strange thing, kind of go, oh, hello." And I said, "What?" And he was like, "Well, so the powers that be have heard about you." And I was, and you go, "What have I done?" And he's like, no. He said, in a positive way. And I was like, okay. And he said, yeah. He said, "Someone wants to speak to you." He said, "I think it's like local news." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Yeah. So he said, "They'll give you a call tomorrow." So I said, fantastic. The next day I get a phone call from the head office of this, like I say, this government part in the UK, saying, "Yeah, we've checked you out, and this is incredible, and we'd like to have an interview with you as a success story of the program." And I was like, okay. Wow. So I had an interview. Then they said, "Oh, do you mind if this newspaper calls you?" And I was like, okay. So then they phoned me the next day. And then 2 days later, this was the bit that made me go, wait, what? 2 days later, I get a phone call back from the head office from this guy called Connor, again, really great guy. And he said, I work for the film and media department for this thing. And I was like, okay. And he's like, I'm also a massive geek. And I was like, sure. He said, I was thinking, let's make a small documentary about it. And I went, what? And yeah, and then what happened was within a few months. So what they did was they paid one of the artists, and this was the thing. They were like, "You've got artists," and I was like, "Yeah, but they're not free." And they said no, and they actually threw a budget at me. They were like, "Here's a budget. Give the money to the artist." And so what they did is they interviewed me, and then they spliced up the interview, and then they sent the audio, and then the artist had to listen to the audio and draw me kind of in the response of all this. And it was so surreal because I just remember sending it. It was Sarah Butcher was the artist on this one, so I sent it to Sarah, and I was like, "Please make me look prettier than this, for God's sake." And she's like, "No promises, man." But then yeah, so she sent back it was just black and white. So she sent back the black and whites. I sent it to them. They coloured them, animated them, put it together, and sent it as a documentary. And I was like, "What has just happened?"
Wow.
And it's so surreal to see yourself as a cartoon.
Right.
It's, especially, I mean, I look like David Tennant's stunt double with a beard. It's such a surreal thing, but yeah, it was like crazy. And then they put it out, and then after a period, they said, "Yeah, you can use it now," because I wasn't allowed to use it for a period because it was just for their channel. And they said, "Here you go, you can use it now." And straight away, I was like, I think it was the day that I started TikTok. I was like, I'm starting with this bad boy. So it's like, there it is. And it's not a long documentary. It was only a few minutes because it was,
right.
just to cover the thing. But yeah, it was such a surreal moment for me.
Nice.
But it was also a moment where I turned to some of the people who were like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And go, "Where's your documentary?" It's like, So, and again, 2 years later, I've never been more sure of a decision.
So if people want to learn more about ASAP Imagination, what's the best place that they can go to?
So if they go to our main site, so it's asapimagination.com, and then in the About Us, you'll see, not everyone's name is highlighted yet because we're still doing them and so on and so forth. But what I did was, rather than have, bio pages, we decided to do these things. I called them 5 in 5. 5 in 5. Yeah. So I used to work in an industry where we used to have it was called the 5 by 5, and you had to get these 5 things done by 5 o'clock every day. It was hideous. So I decided to do 5 in 5, which is 5 questions in 5 minutes. And so they're basically bio videos. So you click on the link, it takes you to our YouTube channel, and people can hear those 5 minutes.
Right.
So they can learn about us as individuals, and they can, check out our social medias for all and any other questions. Or just give me a shout and ask. I'm pretty easygoing. I'll just speak to anyone. It's fine.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Paul Haydes. This was great to chat with you. And I look forward to meeting the rest of your team. So
yeah. Thank you for having us for the entire month. I felt so bad well, in equal measure, I was like, I feel bad, but also so great. So I'm so grateful, man. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, let me get ready and do the intro. Did you go by, introduce you as Paul, or do you want to stick with what is
Haydes is my nickname that's kind of stuck, and most people call it me now. You can call me whatever you wish, but Haydes just...
You're one of those people that has 4 names now, yeah?
Yeah, it was a joke from one of the people who works for me, and then it just stuck, and then everyone now calls it me, and I just kind of went, you know what, I accept this as a name now. This is fine. I'll go with this.